In the Know, a radio program talking to the newsmakers in Ogle, Lee, DeKalb counties and beyond, keeping you in the know. Here's your host, Charles Van Horn.
Good morning. Happy Sunday. Joining us in studio, Rochelle Mayor John Bearrows. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
Doing great. An exciting week so far. Election was, on Tuesday already? Seems like eons ago. You had your State of the City address, and that went well. You and Jeff sharing time with her. I like the fact that Jeff wanted a bigger podium so you two could stand side by side.
Yeah, it works out real well.
Yeah, you guys were just trading off there. But you guys were really excited about some of the infrastructure projects, and really what I focus on today is getting around town. Now, Rochelle is known as the hub city, and railroads are a big part of the community. And, before the overpass was put in for 251, the town was definitely different.
It was definitely deadlocked.
Yeah, it turned into a nightmare at times, and the trains were moving around town. And again, you got to appreciate the trains for being an economic engine. But on the other side of the coin is, what a hindrance to transportation. And the leap forward in the 70s to where we're at today, and the roads around town, and how you're keeping the truck traffic where the truck traffic needs to be with access to the interstates, and people where they need to be, especially with sidewalks. Let's talk a bit about sidewalks, because in the State of the City address, you talked about expanding and doing more sidewalks in the community.
Yeah, that's been a part of our whole mission looking forward is to work on the kind of the infrastructure of connectivity. Which includes the sidewalks, includes bike paths. In other words, some places you see there'll be bike lanes. In other towns, you see bike lanes along the side, the sidewalks, and then also the multi-use paths, which we've already started putting in. You can see those down on Stewart Road, just south of the Johnson tractor, coming up to the Stewart Road South Main corner. Mm-hmm. And that's great, because you have once again you have people that are maybe they're in wheelchairs, they need a little wider area. So the multi-youth paths have definitely been a part of our expansions moving forward.
The bike paths around town are just phenomenal, all the way up and around to Hillcrest and around. When is there going to be a bike path to Creston?
Well, unfortunately, we don't have anything to do with that. That would be Park District. But, Park District's done a great job.
Yeah.
I mean, you're right. When we talk about quality of life issues in town, that's one of the things that I bring up, the bike path, being able to get all the way out to Flag Center. So in my mind, getting to Creston is not an unrealistic expectation in the future. But
yeah.
There's a lot of hoops to jump through to make that happen.
Yeah, a lot of setbacks, I'm sure. A lot of paving. Sidewalks in town, going back to sidewalks, some areas are getting new sidewalks, some aren't. If you are a resident and you think your block has a sidewalk issue, what are things that you as a resident can do? Can you? I mean, obviously you could replace it yourself. I don't think the city's going to stop you from doing that.
Well, first of all, obviously the sidewalks are owned by the city, and so what Sam does, he tries to prioritize the sidewalks. Obviously, we can't see everything. Mm-hmm. But if there's a trip hazard or something for example, on Main Street, North Main Street, in the 500 block, I believe it was, 600 block, we had a couple of huge trees that were actually lifting the sidewalk. They'd been there mm-hmm. forever, and created a trip hazard. So, if you have something that's a trip hazard, shoot us an email. I'll get it to Sam, or shoot Sam an email. All our emails are on the city website, just so we can be aware of it. Because, like I say, there's a big amount, and I can't remember the number now off the top of my head. But you look at the number of miles of sidewalk, we can't see everything.
Yeah.
So be kind about it, because the thing that you have to remember is when we start replacing sidewalks, and or adding sidewalks, it's an extremely expensive process. And, you can't, if we had our way, we would make sure that everybody had new sidewalks and everything was done. But, financially, we just can't do that all at once. So that's why every year we take on a sidewalk project to make sure that we cover the worst of the worst and get those upgraded. And I think Sam's done a great job with that.
And there is some state money for that, too, the Paths to School program, if I recall. How involved have you guys been in that and trying to get some money there?
That would be something Sam deals directly with to try to get the federal grants and state grants. But yeah, there's a tremendous amount, as we talked about yesterday. The city has been very fortunate, and really kind of credit our department heads, because they search out these grants and they'll find grants that, in fact, Adam Lanning was working on one that is a huge grant for infrastructure or sewer lining project, that there's a forgiveness of a portion of that grant. And so, I credit our department heads for staying on that and finding and seek out the grants. Michelle Peace in Community Development has worked with grants for community development. Everybody has their own forte, and I think they do a great job.
Let's talk about that miserable 20th and Flag intersection. I got caught there the other day, and I had to shave while I was waiting to get through that intersection. That's how long I sat there. That can be quite troublesome during the commute in the morning hours and also in that early afternoon when school lets out. That intersection is quite troublesome. What are the plans in this next year and a half, 2 years for that location?
Well, when that intersection was done, that was done as a temporary basis as far as the turn signals, stoplights, and such in the lanes. So that's going to get upgraded. And I have to thank Ogle County. Ogle County, John Finfrock and his board have been great to work with. We've got a great relationship with them. We're co-oping on that intersection so that we're sharing and doing a cost share on that intersection. So when those lights went up, those lights were temporary in nature, so that sometimes you have turn signals like at other places, and I'm sure somebody's going to say something about the Stewart Road in South Main. That light is exceptionally low when you're turning left. But this all relates back to traffic counts, truck traffic, and all of that. So, but the ones at 20th Street really are a basic temporary stoplight. So you can't alter the timing like you can on some of the other ones. But be patient. That intersection will be changed. Turn lanes added for the safety of people leaving the school and those coming down 20th Street, maybe heading west into the deeper into the county. It's just going to take some time, but that's definitely on the docket to begin. Yeah,
with two schools right there, it's a ton of traffic during peak hours. And it's nice that you got two lanes there, east-west. That works out great. But, that stoplight there, again, I was caught there one afternoon, and I thought at first there was something wrong because nothing was moving. Like 2 cars at a time could go, and then you sit. I'm just like, my goodness. Yeah, so it's nice to see that get addressed. When it goes to green, it does not stay green very long. No.
And you got to be so careful. I've seen people, when I've been there myself, you see somebody trying to jump through on the light, and you just got to really be careful. That's a bad intersection, and that's why it's on the front row of being able to be upgraded and fixed up.
And let's throw the state under the bus a little bit, and let's talk about the work being done on 7th, 251. Obviously, they've been moving utilities over the last year back away from the road to get ready to do a project. How much stuff is under 251? I'm sure you've probably seen some of the plans.
That is probably the heaviest infestation of infrastructure within the city.
Infestation, that's a good term for it. Like everybody and their brother ran something under that road.
Yeah, and you got to remember, that was kind of the north end of town for a long time. I mean, beyond that, there really wasn't anything years ago. I'm dating myself, but I remember when that was not much between there and Flag Road. So a lot of stuff crosses there, goes up Jones Road. They're talking about increasing the height of that intersection by, I believe it's 2.5 feet, something like that.
Why would they do that? That's a question that, as someone who doesn't understand a lot about engineering and roadworks, why raise the intersection?
Well, I think, and I'm not an engineer and don't pretend to be, but I think what it is, when you come off of Jones Road, there's an extremely large drop-off coming from the west.
Yeah.
And I think they want to kind of eliminate that, bring 251 up so that it kind of meets a little bit better of an intersection, smoother transition, whichever way you go, because that's a huge drop-off. If you shot the grade from Tess and Kroll's office down to the center of that intersection, I'll bet that thing drops 8 or 10 feet.
Wow.
That's a huge drop. And so I think they want to kind of split the difference between all the roads, if that makes sense, and have it more of a smooth transition.
Well, imagine how deep the potholes can get when you raise it 2.5 feet.
Well, yeah. And we've had water main breaks in that area.
Yeah.
It's just that intersection, and I can tell you that when Sam Tessero came here, and I believe Sam's been here almost 20 years, that program and that project was on the docket then.
Wow.
So it's been close to 20 years. But in defense of the state is, they have all the things, the infrastructure things that they have to move. Now you have fiber in that area, you got sewer, you got water, you got all the various infrastructure. And not only do you have all the infrastructure, but you have to figure out with that big of a project, how are you going to route the traffic?
Yeah.
There's been talk about the southbound traffic would be rerouted at one point, and the northbound traffic would stay. And then when they switch it over, they'll reroute the northbound traffic and reroute the southbound traffic elsewhere. So it's kind of a major, because the last thing they want to do, I believe, and this is totally in the state's hands. We don't control it. But the last thing you want to do is stop the traffic from going by in front of a business that supports our community.
And you got to have that artery left open in the event something happens to I-39.
Absolutely.
Because instantly the first thing the state police do if something happens is they send everybody to 251 and wish them luck.
Yeah, absolutely. And, we have to bear in mind the transportation of patients to and from the hospital, fire and emergency equipment, squad cars, police and fire vehicles.
Oversized loads.
I mean, that's a real, as Rochelle grew, that intersection really didn't grow.
Yeah.
And yet all of our other stuff has grown. One of the things that we're working on is on the docket right now, and we didn't really talk about it too much yesterday, but one of the things that we've been working on is developing a Dement Road extension, which would take Dement Road across Creston Road straight to the south to be able to tie Dement Road into the frozen food Wiscold Drive area. And what that's going to do is a couple things. One is I've ultimately wanted to get the truck traffic off Karen Road.
Yeah.
We have too many residential properties that back out onto Karen Road. If, in my opinion, if you have one that has to back out onto Karen Road, that's too many.
Yeah.
We have more than that. I'd like to see the truck traffic move from Karen Road over to that Dement Road area. And the other thing that we'll do is we have a great asset in this community down there, which is the Park District's Lake Sewell. And yet, if you don't live here, it's hard to find. So signage from Route 38 from Creston Road could take them straight down to the entrance of Lake Sewell. I've always thought that hopefully, obviously, I don't have anything to do with the Park District as far as their decision making, but I've always thought that it would be great if somehow the Park District could open up a campground down there around Lake Sewell. In today's world, RV camping and tent camping and all of that is a huge thing for families that want to get out. We saw that during the pandemic, and it hasn't changed. And they've got a great asset that could be utilized for that.
And I'm going to humble brag. I believe in 1988 or 89, I actually water skied at Lake Sewell. Way back in the day.
That would have been illegal because you're not supposed to create a wake.
We were part of an exhibition doing a water ski show.
Okay.
We were brought in during a festival of some kind. And, of course, because it was Lake Sewell and out, again, away from everybody, I think 8 people attended.
You
but
must
we had
have
a
been
good time.
like 7 years old back then.
I was older than that. Thank you very much. I'm distinguished. But that's a humble brag. Yeah. I've done a lot of things on a bunch of various bodies of water all across this area in my youth. But yeah, no, we did. I think 2 years. I think we went and water skied over there as part of a special
Lake Sewell is
event.
It's a beautiful area, and hopefully our residents are utilizing that. But like I say, it's hard to get to. If you don't know where it's at, it's hard to get to.
You can see it from the tollway.
What a great asset for our community.
Yeah. Mayor John Bearrows in studio with us, hanging out, talking about infrastructure, and we're talking about roads a bit. You guys are going to be obviously out all summer long doing construction. You got some new paving equipment. Kudos for you guys for picking that up to make things easier. If a resident has a giant pothole or something, who do they contact?
Once again, just shoot us an email. Let us know where it's at. It's just like the sidewalks. We can't see them all. I'm out and about throughout the whole town a lot every week, and I many times will call Tim and say, "Hey, have you seen this pothole?" Or have you seen this? There's water coming up on a certain street. But the more eyes you have out there, the better. But yeah, just shoot us an email is the safest, because our guys, we don't have guys just sitting around waiting to answer the phone. And if you shoot us an email, we can get that to the proper department and get it looked at. And we've had that happen. We've had residents reach out very politely, and say, "Hey, there's a spot here. What are you doing about this?" And I don't particularly know, but I'll forward it on to the city manager, and he'll talk to the department heads, because the city manager is the day-to-day operations, and as mayor, I and city council alike, all we deal with typically is policies.
Yeah.
And city manager takes care of the day-to-day. But yeah, shoot us and I have no problem with getting an email saying, "Hey, there's a pothole in front of my house that's swallows the Volkswagen." Let me know, and we'll get it in the right hands.
All right. Thank you so much, Mayor John Bearrows, joining us today. Look forward to seeing you next month.
Sounds good. Thank you very much.
Thank you for listening to this week's In the Know. The program returns next week at this time with another great conversation with someone from your community.